Oh, that's cool. What's up with the get-up? It's not Halloween yet.
Yar! It do be International Talk Like a Pirate Day, and I do be liking to get into the spirit of the sea, and let the waves grasp hold of me vocal cords, yo-ho!
Oh, yeah, cool. But, you know that pirates didn't actually sound like that, right?
What?
I mean, they might have, but the whole yar, shiver me timbers and all that, it's pure fiction.
Come on, man, just let me have this.
In fact, if you really wanted to talk like a pirate, you're just gonna need some severe dehydration, heat stroke, and brain damage.
Yeah, I think I'll stick with the Disney pirate.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Film Theory, the show that knows a pirate's favorite letter. You might think it's R, and that's definitely a good guess, but it always do be the C. You know, Pirates of the Caribbean is a weird franchise to have had such a massive impact on pop culture. Seriously, a $140 million film based on a pretty okay theme park ride in the then-dead genre of pirate action movie that had flop written all over it. I'd say it's a pretty safe bet that the main reason it was such a cultural touchstone was the rum-loving, swashbuckling Jack Sparrow.
Captain Jack Sparrow, if you please.
Sorry, Captain Jack Sparrow. Everyone fell in love with Johnny Depp's portrayal of the legendary pirate, blending the swagger of rock stars like Keith Richards with the bumbling buffoonery of the now super canceled Pepe Le Pew. Depp was even nominated for an Oscar for the part. Just about the only people in the world who didn't love his portrayal were the executives at Disney. Yep, who apparently couldn't stand Depp's take and wondered if the character was gay. Wow, Disney. I'm just glad you've been able to become more progressive in the 20 years since that movie. Nope, never mind. Anyway, those executives changed their tune real quick when Depp's Captain Jack led the franchise into the hearts and wallets of audiences worldwide, earning nearly $4.5 billion at the global box office. Now that is a lot of rum money. Now, there's been a lot of discussion over the last 2 decades around whether Captain Jack's antics were the result of an underestimated genius-level intellect hidden under that persona, or just an incredible streak of luck. Even the characters in universe aren't sure.
Do you think he plans it all out? Or just makes it up as he goes along?
But what if I told you that the franchise actually tells us the secret to Captain Jack's success in the very first movie?
They marooned Jack on an island and left him to die, but not before he'd gone mad with the heat.
Well, Captain Jack's fanciful stories about escaping a deserted island on the back of sea turtles might have been a lie. The whole going mad with the heat part of it wasn't. You see, Captain Jack is an unpredictable force of nature, not because he's a drunk, not because he's a genius, but because he's been dangerously dehydrated for his entire life. Yep, dehydrated. He is literally dying of thirst, so badly in fact that he's completely boiled his own brain. Doesn't sound like that big of a deal? Well, it is. In fact, it explains all of Captain Jack's behavior and mannerisms throughout the entirety of the series, and today I'm gonna prove it to you. So first of all, though I'm sure we all know what I mean when I say that Captain Jack's dehydrated, how does science actually define that phrase? Dehydration occurs when you lose more fluid than you take in, and your body doesn't have enough water to carry out its normal functions. Basically, when you don't drink enough water, your body has big sad and it doesn't work well. You get confused and fatigued, you're constantly thirsty, and you stop sweating, which means that your body can't cool itself off. For healthy adults, that isn't that big of a deal. You can just drink some water and you're good to go, but if you can't or don't drink water, the resulting dehydration can lead to some serious side effects, like loss of motor function, seizures, kidney failure, and what we're most interested in today, heat injuries. These happen when your body's been too hot for too long, and can vary from mild cramps and a rapid pulse to heat stroke, resulting in slurred speech, altered mental states, and even the loss of consciousness. When left untreated, heat stroke can seriously damage your brain, your heart, your kidneys, and muscles. So, as you can probably tell at this point, drinking water, kinda important. But when you live on a boat for huge stretches of time, getting enough water is gonna pose some unique challenges. You see, the Pirates films take place in the first half of the 1700s, and IRL during that period, dehydration was a huge part of life for anyone making their living at the sea. Today, experts recommend that the average man living in a temperate climate like the Caribbean consume about 3.7 liters, or almost a full gallon of water every day to stay properly hydrated. But back then, on a well-provisioned pirate ship, your allotment was literally half that amount, 1.9 liters, or a mere half gallon of water a day. And that's without even mentioning the lack of proper nutrition and hygiene on board, which would lead to food poisoning, diarrhea, and the rapid spread of disease. There's also the long, labor-intensive work days out in the sun, all of it depleting the water inside their bodies, all of it combining to make the pirates' average lifespan a mere 26 years. years. Oh no, no pirates life for me. I'll pass, thanks. So that's the historical context, but do we actually see any evidence in the Pirates movies that Captain Jack might be dehydrated? Yeah, quite a bit, in fact. In Pirates 3, we actually see that the Black Pearl runs out of water while trying to escape Davy Jones's locker.
No water. Fire's all but the rum gone. Rum's gone too.
This immediately shows us that water on board was absolutely in the minds of the screenwriters. And while that's the only time we hear talk of water supplies on board, if we go back to our list of dehydration symptoms, we see that Jack Sparrow has them all in spades. Let's start with the no sweating thing. Take a look at the first ever sword fight that Jack Sparrow has against Will Turner. Jack isn't sweating at all. Despite the rigorous physical activity of swimming down to save Elizabeth Swann, carrying her unconscious body to shore, escaping a firing squad, swinging from ropes, sprinting through the streets of a humid port city trying to break his bonds and engaging a talented swordsman in a balmy blacksmithery. Sure, he's a little greasy, but not any more than he normally is. In comparison, look at Will from the same scene. Despite entering the shop completely dry and doing only a fraction of the exercise that Captain Jack just did, he is literally dripping with sweat halfway through the fight. In fact, looking at the series in its entirety, Captain Jack lacks sweat the entire time. After running bent over with a bamboo stalk strapped to his back and escaping the cannibals, the only liquid on his face is paint and seawater. After rowing a life raft both to and from the Kraken, he's likewise completely sweat-free. Despite trying to pull the Black Pearl hard enough that he's gasping, he's still as dry as the desert around him. In Pirates 4, Captain Jack doesn't have a bead of sweat on him after running through the tropical wilderness long enough for his clothes, which had been completely soaked, to dry. And again, this isn't just movie magic. Look at other characters. They sweat. Jack doesn't. The long and short of all this is that his body just doesn't have any extra water to spare. He can't sweat anymore, which means that his body can't cool off naturally, which means that he's constantly suffering from heat stroke. Side effect of that, slurred speech. Practically every line that he speaks throughout the series, but especially when you get to Pirates 5, is slurred. Sure, in some cases he's drunk, but in several others he is stone cold sober, like here.
The treasure to be found with the map that no man can read.
And here.
Shall I tell you know who? What we both know to be true.
I mean, it's a good thing that I can watch these movies with closed captions, because Captain Jack's lines by the end of the series are like he's gargling with rocks in his mouth. And remember when I said that sometimes dehydration and heat stroke can result in altered mental states? Well, that can manifest with some symptoms of psychosis, including hallucinations. All throughout Pirates 3, Captain Jack both sees and talks to several other versions of himself, including a creepy coral-covered vision of his future.
I miss him already. He is quite charming, isn't he?
Nobody move! Earlier, we see him physically interacting with one of these hallucinations, stabbing it to intimidate the other hallucinated selves, who then promptly disappear. After finding him, Will Turner even makes note of Captain Jack's delirious state.
He thinks we're a hallucination.
That's not the result of drunkenness. That's the result of a brain literally being boiled alive inside its own skull. And this contributes to other symptoms too. One of Captain Jack's very visible symptoms is loss of motor function. It's long been theorized that Captain Jack's general instability while walking or standing is because of his sea legs, that he was so used to walking on a ship bobbing at sea that dry land tipped him off balance. Or maybe he's just drunk all the time. And while either could make for a fun character detail, scientifically it actually makes more sense that Jack's dehydration impaired his motor functions, which, as you watch throughout the series, just get worse over time. Early in the films, he simply has trouble standing up straight or walking without putting his arms out to balance himself. But by the time of Pirates 5, he's practically stumbling and wobbling through every scene, to the point that he can't even jump a fence without falling flat on his face. So what, I hear you saying? Captain Jack was dehydrated. Might have been uncomfortable, but everything worked out for him. And, well, yes, everything did work out for the main character of a billion-dollar film franchise. Imagine that. Between the dehydration and heat injuries affecting his body and mind, Captain Jack has basically boiled his brain to the point that his cognitive functioning has been severely impaired. When your brain reaches 104 degrees Fahrenheit, or 40 degrees Celsius, your blood-brain barrier begins to break down. This is a barrier that separates your brain tissue from the bloodstream, allowing oxygen and nutrients into your brain while keeping out unwanted particles and bacteria. Some studies show that you only need to suffer 1% dehydration before you experience up to 5% decrease in your cognitive function. Even worse, a 2% decrease in brain hydration can create short-term memory loss and hinder your ability to quickly complete math equations.
This may seem a peculiar request, but could someone explain to me as to why I'm here?
No, wait, it's coming to me.
Need just a moment to clear my head.
But what I find scariest is that long-term dehydration actually causes your brain cells to shrink, resulting in a sort of brain fog, a loss of mental clarity. Imagine feeling groggy, like you just woke up, but all the time. Bringing this back around to Captain Jack, we see something that could very easily be considered brain fog as early as Pirates 2, when Sparrow's compass can't tell what he really wants. Does he want more rum? Does he want the Black Pearl? To not work for Davy Jones for 100 years? He doesn't even know. And by the time of Pirates 5, this brain fog has gotten so bad that this once sharp, witty pirate has turned into someone with difficulty forming even a complete thought.
Give me the map, or I will kill.
This dehydration-driven brain fog could have even impacted Captain Jack's decisions as early as the first movie. When we first meet Sparrow, he's arriving at Port Royal, Jamaica, which at that point had been pretty thoroughly purged of pirates by the time the movies take place in the 1720s. They even explicitly warn all pirates to stay away. Captain Jack, at this point, has not only been branded as a pirate by the East India Trading Company, but he's also apparently infamous enough to be recognized by the tattoo on his arm.
Well, well. Jack Sparrow, isn't it?
And yet still, he decides to go to a port that is notorious for killing pirates. Why? The only reason I can think is that Port Royal is one of the closest major Caribbean points to Tortuga, Haiti, which is where he borrowed his sinking ship, but there are options that aren't much further away, like Havana, Cuba, and Nassau in the Bahamas. Maybe he wanted to steal one of the Navy ships, but again, that seems incredibly stupid and dangerous. It's a dumb decision that would likely only come from someone with brain fog. Captain Jack's severe dehydration may also explain why we see him drinking so much rum, ale, and wine throughout the series. Sure, it's endearing when he says,
Where's the rum gone?
Except I suspect that his body has subconsciously come to rely on these liquids for any sort of hydration that he can find. Practically any liquid is going to be better than no liquid, right? But here, it's just making matters worse. See, though these alcohols would supply fluid for Captain Jack's body, they would also be affecting his brain and specifically his pituitary gland. This little guy in the front of the brain is responsible for generating vasopressin, a hormone that helps prevent you from urinating when you're dehydrated. That way your body can reabsorb the water as opposed to losing it. Unfortunately for Captain Jack though, consuming alcohol both decreases your ability to generate vasopressin and weakens your ability to help retain water, thus worsening his dehydration. This then becomes a vicious cycle. Captain Jack working out in the heat all day becoming dehydrated. There isn't a lot of water on the ship already, so he starts drinking the alcohol that he has stashed away. Now he's even more dehydrated to the point that his body temperature is going to increase, heightening his chances for heat exhaustion, thus furthering his dehydration and damaging his body and mind. But you know the most ironic twist to all of this? For as bad as all of this is to his brain and body, all of it might have been truly his secret weapon. Consider this, by the time of Pirates 5, Captain Jack would have been at least in his 50s. In comparison, the real world Blackbeard only made it to 35 or 40. Captain Kidd died at 46. Jack Sparrow, he's able to outlast all these other famous pirates. How? I mean, if you ignore the obvious plot armor. It actually boils down to that brain fog. You see, his erratic behavior caused by his boiled brain often forces his foes into what's called a surprise sequence, a momentary pause when someone's caught off guard by an unusual behavior. It usually translates to people physically freezing for about a 25th of a second, followed by confusion as their brain tries to figure out what the heck's going on. That certainly seems to be Captain Jack's effect on the British sailors when he and Will steal a ship from right under their noses.
That's got to be the best pirate I've ever seen.
So it would seem.
Or on Beckett as he escapes by shooting a cannon tied to a rope. Or even on Davy Jones when Captain Jack unexpectedly lies straight to his face mid-sword fight.
You can do nothing without the key!
I already have the key. No, you don't. Oh, that key.
Captain Jack being driven mad by the heat might have just saved his life more times than he can count. You know, because he can't count well. Boiled brain and all that. It's a bit funny. Johnny Depp once explained that he came up with a lot of Jack Sparrow's personality by sitting in a sauna cranked up as hot as it could go. He wanted to feel like his brain was boiling. That's how he envisioned this character. And in the end, that character decision may have actually wound up more true than even he could have expected. I guess it all goes to show that some superpowers come in the form of spider bites, some in the form of magical candles, but in Jack's case, his survivability came from long-standing dehydration. I suppose what doesn't kill ya makes you stronger. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut.